of the Hungarian of people executed at Auschwitz. The prosecution, I believe the reference to that man who was an expert on Auschwitz was the Jew, the elder of the Hungarian Jewry. This fanatic Zionist. Eichmann was all absorbed in his duty and believed that this extermination was necessary to save the future of the German nation from the will to be exterminated by the Jews. This is how he saw his task and put all his energy to increase the pace of extermination. Eichmann was also an opposer to a selective extermination. He saw in this endangering the final solution by escapes and by other happenings which might happen while Jews fit for work were being selected. In his opinion, things should not be delayed, but should be done in a decisive manner so that all steps against Jews and for their biological extermination should be taken, because one never knows how the war will end. In 1943, he already had doubts regarding the full victory of Germany. And because of this approach, I could never get any help from Eichmann in mitigation of the extermination. All my proofs never convinced him, and he always took shelter under the order which he was given by the SS to implement the extermination as quick as possible and not to delay them. Although I was on very friendly conditions with Eichmann, we did not see eye to eye on these points. We had discussions always over each transport when I tried to delay the transport in vain. He usually surprised me by transports out of plan. He did everything to bring about the final solution of the Jewish problem as quickly as possible. Every day gained was a real gain for Eichmann. He never took obstacles into consideration. This he learned from the Reichsführer of the SS. The solution of the Jewish problem was the task of Eichmann's life. And lost his life in 1941 in a train accident in Hanover. In the autumn of 1937, the men who were at the time the officers of the Jewish department at the SD, Eichmann, and a journey to Palestine and to Egypt. This was supposed to include, besides obtaining general information on Zionist problems, also a visit to the Grand Mufti, and Dr. Reichhardt was to report, but the visit did not materialize because the British authorities limited the stay of Eichmann in spite of his tourist visa. The stay was limited to 48 hours. In Cairo, at the time, there were discussions with Arab nationalists, a journalist from Jerusalem who was one of the Mufti clique, a journalist. After the Mufti's al-Husseini, his arrival to Germany, he visited Himmler. A short time after this visit, the Grand Mufti asked from the manager in office number 4 of the Gestapo, Eichmann, and at his Berlin office on the Kurfürstenstraße number 4. I can't remember the exact date of that visit. This might have happened at the end of 41 or early in 42. I was in Berlin a few days later, and Eichmann told me about this visit. Eichmann prepared a lecture in his map room before the Mufti, and gave him statistics about the Jewish population in European countries, a detailed lecture on the solution of the Jewish problem in Europe. The Grand Mufti was very much impressed, it seems. The Mufti was very much impressed, he said, and told Eichmann that he has already requested Himmler and has his consent that a man authorized by Eichmann should come to Jerusalem as a personal advisor when he, the Grand Mufti, comes back to Jerusalem after the victory of the Axis. During this conversation, Eichmann said, I rejected such Oriental adventures. Eichmann was very much impressed by the Grand Mufti's personality. He repeatedly said that the Mufti impressed him very much, and this was the same with Himmler, and regarding Arab-Jewish affairs is also of influence. Eichmann saw the Mufti, as far as I know, very often, and spoke to him often. He said so during a conversation in the summer of '41 in Budapest. At the end of 1942, I endeavored, at the initiative of the Joint in Bratislava, to influence on Eichmann and Himmler to avoid the extermination of European Jewry. One plan was the saving of Jewish children, the immigration of those children to Palestine through Romania. Eichmann, with Himmler's agreement, gave an order to bring some 10,000 Jewish children from Poland to Theresienstadt. There were plans for the exchange of these children with civilian prisoners, and this through the International Red Cross services. I've already discussed in Bratislava with representatives of the Joint the immigration of adults as with the children, and also discussed the number of adults to accompany the children. The children did in part arrive to Theresienstadt, as I was told by Dr. Seidel, the commanding officer of that camp. Then I was called by Eichmann to Berlin, and he revealed that the Grand Mufti learned about this plan through his own intelligence service in Palestine. He went to Himmler and objected, saying that these Jewish children within a number of years will grow up and will reinforce the Jews in Palestine. As a result, Himmler forbade, according to what Eichmann said, all the operation, and even issued orders forbidding such operations in future, that no Jew be allowed to immigrate to Palestine from German-occupied and ruled territories. On the basis of this decision obtained by the Mufti from Himmler, I informed the Joint, although Eichmann forbade me to do so, and told the joint, but this Himmler's attitude had a fatal result, especially in Budapest in 1944. Thus, all the plans to compromise on the Jewish problem in Hungary were put to naught, because Palestine was the only country which could absorb Jewish children and women in larger numbers. I must add that the Grand Mufti, during his stay in Germany, was a liaison officer with the German government. There was a German officer, whose name I do not remember. Generalmajor Tallenberg should know the details. He was at the end of June in jail at the time in Nuremberg.
Yes, I understand.
Now, he was interrogated regarding Huppenkorten, and in his statement, in two places in his statement, first he confirmed that Huppenkorten really did occupy a post where he could know the position of the accused, and this is on page 1056 of the statement made by the accused. And then he was asked again on the same subject on page 1383 of his statement, and here the same passage of Huppenkorten's declaration was read to the accused of the affidavit. And may I be permitted to submit this affidavit?
Is Huppenkorten still alive?
As far as I know, he is.
Do you know where he is?
No, I will not try to guess, because it seems the defense knows where the gentlemen are to be found, I believe. I thought Hettel was in Germany, but it seems he is in Austria. I will not guess where the whereabouts of these people.
What was the reaction of the accused to this?
He confirmed on page 1056, the accused, there is questions and answers, and Les asks, he probably knew the activities of your department, Eichmann. Yes, of course, naturally. And later we find on page 1385, Les, do you wish to add something to what you heard, or do you wish to read it once again? And then Eichmann answers, there is a mixture of reality and imagination. Reality more than imagination. This was his commentary to Huppenkort's affidavit. The accused tells me that Huppenkort is alive in the federal Germany. I wish to voice the same reservation regarding the submission of this affidavit, inasmuch as it is possible to bring the witness himself, to localize him and bring him. I shall try to get his address.
אדוני, האם יש לתרגם את המובאות מדברי הנאשם? לא שמענו את העמודים.
את העמודים? בבקשה, אדוני יחזור על זה.
Will Mr. Hausner please repeat?
This part was translated by your English interpreter, but the Hebrew was not given, and the Hebrew interpreter will give the Hebrew version to the court now. There will be no translation into the English.
Mit was beschäftigte sich die Abteilung von Hupenkoten? ואחר כך 1385. למטה.
מותר לי לשאול עד איזה מקום? 1056.
מה שאדוני קרא קודם.
כן. זה באמצע העמוד. לס, ja, aber kannte wahrscheinlich auch die Tätigkeit ihrer Abteilung.
במה עסקה מחלקתו של הופנקוטן? אייכמן. אדוני הפקד, גם את זה אינני יודע עוד.
This part of the German text was translated by your interpreter before.
גם את זה כבר אינני יודע. אבל זה הרי נראה לעין בתרשים הארגוני. לס. כן, אבל הוא כנראה הכיר גם את פעולתה של מחלקתך. אייכמן. כן, מובן מאליו. כי הלא היו לנו לפחות כל 14 ימים, הרי נאמר פעם כך.
הוא קורא הרבה יותר ממה שהאוזנר קרא.
ועכשיו 1385 למטה. לס, wollen Sie was dazu sagen?
הרוצה אתה לומר משהו לכך ואתה רוצה לקרוא את זה עוד פעם? אייכמן, זה גם כן, זה ערבוב של אמת ויצירה, במידה מסוימת יותר אמת כמובן.
אמת ודמיון אולי.
בדיה קראנו.
בדיה, כן.
זה ערבוב של אמת ובדיה, במידה מסוימת יותר אמת כמובן מאשר בדיה.
עד כאן קראתי.
טוב, גם בעניין זה ניתן...
Presiding Judge, on this subject too we shall also give our decision tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
The last documents I wish to submit, except the documents which await the decision of this court tomorrow morning, are an affidavit and an examination of Edelheid von Taden of the Foreign Ministry, the German Foreign Ministry.
An affidavit
And relationships appear according to von Taden, in spite of all reservations regarding the value of the things and their final weight in evidence. I do not know what von Taden does today. I do not know if he is alive or dead. I request the court to accept both documents in evidence.
Judge Halevi, was he a war criminal?
I cannot say now. I do not know.
Kann ich etwas dazu erwähnen?
Dr. Savatius
befindet sich in der Nähe von Düsseldorf. Hat viele Verfahren, Ermittlungsverfahren über sich ergehen lassen müssen und diese Verfahren sind eingestellt worden.
May I call your attention? Mr. von Taden is now in the vicinity of Düsseldorf. He had to stand before proceedings and examinations, and these were stopped.
Anschrift des Zeugen mitteilen und könnte gestellt werden.
I can hand over the address of this man, and he can be localized. The court may locate the place, may locate von
Die
Taden.
Staatsanwaltschaft kann ihn stellen, kann ihn laden zum
Dr.
Kreuzverhör.
Servatius corrects himself. I did not express myself well. The intention was that the prosecution can locate von Taden and bring him to the witness stand.
Presiding Judge, to bring him as a witness.
Der Zeuge ist insofern von großer Bedeutung, als er ein Referat im Auswärtigen Amt hatte, das in seiner Stellung dem Referat entsprach, was hier der Angeklagte Eichmann im Reichssicherheitshauptamt hatte. Die beiden haben unmittelbar verhandelt und er weiß über alle Dinge am besten Bescheid. Es hat gegen Ende des Krieges eine Besprechung von allen Beamten des Auswärtigen Amts in Krummhübel stattgefunden, wo dieser Zeuge von Taden auch einen Vortrag über die Exekutionen gehalten hat. Und ich glaube, dass man diesen Zeugen doch vor Gericht hören sollte, damit er ins Kreuzverhör genommen wird.
בקרומהובל, תחת המשטר הנאצי או אחרי המלחמה?
Nein, ich glaube, es ist im Jahre
Question by court if during
44.
the Nazi rule or not, but the words of Dr. Servatius were not translated yet into the Hebrew.
Referenten des Auswärtigen Amts, die im Ausland mit diesen Judenfragen zu tun hatten, stattgefunden.
The witness is therefore of importance, is bringing to court, because he headed a department in the Foreign Office, which was a contemporary office to the one run by the accused in the head office, the security head office of the Reich. Both of them negotiated directly, and he knows all the matters relating to the accused. Before the war ended, there was a meeting held of all Foreign Office officials, and the witness, the court corrects, that all officials of the Foreign Ministry who dealt with the Jewish problem. This is a correction by the court. In Krummhebel, and there the witness spoke of the killings. Therefore, this is very important, and the witness should be asked to come forward to the witness box. By permission of the court, I gave a reserved reply to Dr. Halevi's question regarding our attitude to Mr. von Taden and how we see his affidavit. And now, considering what the counsel for the defense states, if this is the case, von Taden is a criminal under paragraph 1.7 as taking part in incitement against the Jewish nation and as a criminal against the Jewish nation. If this is the case, I believe I could put him on trial. Whatever the results elsewhere will be. If he comes to Israel, this will be the case.
He can,
is
is that the only clause on which you rely?
This transpires from Dr. Savatius' words, and a man who committed a crime against the Jewish nation, and the inquiry will prove it, will be brought to justice in Israel if he comes within the boundaries of the country.
Darf ich hier Bezug nehmen auf das Rechtshilfeabkommen mit der Deutschen Bundesrepublik, in dem ein Paragraph ist, wonach der Zeuge erscheinen kann und bis 8 Tage nach seiner Vernehmung Schutz zu gewähren ist.
We've already requested Mr. Hausner to supply us with all the material on arrangements for mutual legal aid, and I hope that this will be in our hands in the afternoon so that we can see whether there is anything of the kind to which reference is now made.
Now the words of Dr. Savatius are being translated. May I again mention the agreement with the federal Germany regarding legal aid, and that the witness must be brought and must be given free passage and immunity until 8 days after his examination in court. I only wish to add, says the prosecution, that the prosecution in any case will not demand the bringing of von Taden to Israel in spite of such a clause in the law.
First, let us look at the clause.
In any case, we do not intend to bring von Taden to Israel, but we wish to submit his affidavits, and the court will decide if we may do so.
Before you proceed with the next witness. This refers to the documents. You submitted to us the comments of the accused as by way of reaction to the articles which appeared in Life magazine. And at the same time, the court was not able sufficiently to examine the comments of the accused. I've been able to look through these with regard to his comments with regard to Life magazine and formed the impression that the gist of his complaint was that Life published only a summary of his statement, and that these statements were taken out of their context, and therefore the significance in the full original text could be different, and therefore he had reservations so long as he was not being asked to comment on the original. It seems to me that he did not argue that the original did not represent his statement, but that the shortened version in Life did not represent the total statement.
The prosecution, if I remember well, sir, I believe that what he maintained is that the passages, as they were brought, cut from the rest of the text, and in their new context, do not represent correctly what the accused said.
Exactly. Did the prosecution secure the original and show this to the accused?
Prosecution, we do not have the original. There are all kinds of stories regarding the original. According to the information we have, this was recorded and given to a journalist in the Argentine, a Dutch Nazi, who in some way or another later the manuscript came to the Life desk, but the full manuscript cannot be obtained. All we know and have is what appeared in the Life, and we interrogated the accused regarding what appeared in the Life.
Judge Halevi, can you not get the full text from Life magazine? I understand that the complaint of the accused was that the life editor gave a shortened version of the accused's manuscript, the original text. Presumably, Life magazine has got the original, which served as the basis for the edited edition.
The prosecution, it was never clear to us if the accused maintains that Life did this editing or the man to whom the accused handed the reels, the tape. He did the editing and the summarizing. In any case, if the court thinks fit, we shall apply to the Life magazine. We did not consider it necessary. We thought that if something was published, we are supposed to show it to the accused and see his reaction.
Judge Halevi, the importance of the publication appears to me to lie in this, that it purports to be from the mouth of the accused himself at a time when he was not under arrest. That is to say, a spontaneous description.
Yes, but since he did not maintain before this court that what he said to the 06 Bureau was against his will, under duress or undue influence, then what we handed to the court as exhibit number 37 holds good also regarding this publication in the Life, and we shall rely on it. If the court thinks fit, the prosecution will do so and write to the Life our experience in applying to papers and asking for their sources of information, and never brings forward the necessary reply and reaction.
Presiding.
Examined. The prosecution, I shall not perhaps continue the argument. It would have been preferable if the counsel for the defense were to hand in a list whom he wishes us to hear, and instead of theoretical discussion about principles, we would know about whom we speak, and then we could weigh the past of those people. If we can vouch for their safety to come to Israel and leave Israel, we speak about principles and about what is good and bad, but we do not have the name of even one witness. The court, we do speak of certain witnesses. Prosecution, let the counsel for the defense tell us whom he wants. The court, you ask us to accept the affidavits. Therefore, it is still early for the counsel for the defense to define the list of his witnesses. But we examine all ways of overcoming obstacles under the situation. The prosecution, if the counsel for the defense insists that Heckel and Huppenkarten should be called to the witness box here, the court corrects von Tadden as well. Prosecution, yes, and von Tadden. Then I propose that he should do so in public, and I shall consider it if this promise for immunity can be given. Von Tadden will not receive this immunity. The minute von Tadden appears, he will be put under arrest and will have to face the court. Prosecution, I declare this beforehand and in advance. The court, what do you think of the idea expressed by Dr. Servatius to send a cross-examiner from Israel the prosecution. I do not like to take a stand. There are all kinds of factors to be taken into account, political and economic. I shall have to think it over and also take counsel with other factors in the state. The judge, also a question of sovereignty. The court, this can be done only by consent of those countries. Court, how long do you need in order to give your decision and to counsel the people necessary? Mr. Hausner, will it be good if I give the answer to the court tomorrow afternoon? Dr. Sabatius has something to say.
Ich habe das Gericht nicht mit Anträgen behelligt, weil ich ja nicht weiß, ob die Zeugen kommen. Das hängt ja gerade davon ab, ob sie freies Geleit haben. Ich kann mir nicht denken, dass ein Zeuge hier hinkommt, um auszusagen und gleichzeitig festgenommen zu werden.
I did not apply to the court yet because I do not know if the witnesses will be ready to come. It still depends if immunity can be promised to those witnesses.
Dann weiß ich auch noch nicht, ob die Zeugen kommen. Das kann ich aber dann erst klar ermitteln, ob ein Zeuge bereit ist. Aber das ist erst die Voraussetzung. Ich werde keine unnützen Anträge stellen.
Even if this immunity and protection is guaranteed, I am not yet sure if the witnesses will be agreeable to come. I shall have to find out. But if I know, then I shall hand in applications. The court, it would have been good if you tried to find out, because also the question of immunity and protection depends on the person requested to come. The prosecution cannot give an inclusive answer or a general answer. If you say, I wish to bring this and this witness, can the prosecution promise free access to that witness? Then, if the response is in the affirmative, the application may be handed to court. But someone must start on this circle.
Gab mir einen Kübel mit Wasser, mit heißem, brühendem Wasser, einen Fetzen, und ich soll vor der Kultusgemeinde, vor dem Tor, das Pflaster reiben. Ich legte mich auf den Boden und begann zu reiben. Es war bis zur Hälfte mit ätzender Säure gefüllt, sodass sofort die Hände anschwollen und sich ätzende Wunden bemerkbar machen.
I reached the entrance, and the wife of the caretaker, Mrs. Shaikovitz, wanted to stop me, but one of the sentries noticed me, and they gave me a bucket of boiling water and told me to brush the steps. I lay down on my stomach and I began to brush the pavement. It turned out that the bucket was half full of acid, and this burnt my hands.
Wurde der damals 70-jährige Oberrabbiner Dr. Taglicht, der in dem Haus der Kultusgemeinde wohnte, herausgeführt von einem SS-Verfügungstruppe Wachposten, und er wurde aufgefordert, so wie ich, neben mir das Pflaster zu reiben.
And while I was lying down on my stomach doing this job, the SS sentries, threw out the chief rabbi, Dr. Taglicht, a man of 70, and he, like myself, was ordered to brush these pavements.
Der Entwürdigung und der Unmenschlichkeit war er herausgeführt worden, angezogen in seinem Talar und umgehängt den Talis.
In order I should feel the full force of the degradation and the inhumanity of it, he was thrown out wearing his gown and with his prayer shawl on, his talit.
Voll Zynismus und Sadismus, wie ihm das gefalle. Und er antwortete,
while he was lying down on the pavement, the same sentry asked him in a spirit of cynicism, "Well, how do you like it?" And he replied,
Ich bin sein Diener.
"If God thinks that this is right, then I am his servant." And via the main building.
No, I had to enter.
Do you remember any meeting with Eichmann?
Yes, I do. Yes.
More than once?
Yes. I can't remember exactly when the first meeting took place. I forgot, but I believe it was about the year 36 or 37. But the meetings were not regular. There were times when I did not find Eichmann. He was traveling, and later when I read where he has been, but at the time we did not know.
Tell me, please, when you met Eichmann, where did you meet him? Where did he sit?
I found him in the same building on Prinz Albert Strasse.
Was he in the main building?
The same building with Kuchmann.
Across the garden?
Yes, in the same part of the building.
About what was the subject of your discussion? What were the topics?
There were all kinds of matters discussed. Once we came, asked for something, and there were times when he demanded something from us.
Please answer me. What were the matters which you brought to Eichmann?
When I learned that he was the man on the spot, and I had the impression at the time that he was listening to our matters and was sincere, trying to understand the situation, then I also applied to him, and during a conversation I put forward some complaints and requests. I was in general dealing also within the framework of the Reichsvertretung, also with the Hachshara, preparing the pioneers for Palestine, and they were dispersed all over Germany in places where the custom was like in Berlin. There were local incidents in those places or other interferences on behalf of institutions there. And then I came to Eichmann and said that this could not carry on. If we want to carry on our job, this has to stop. and requested that he intervene to arrange the matters.
Did he promise this?
He promised, and I must say that from time to time he even acted and did something, but then I must add that whenever I came, he always said I must ask my superiors. And later he would telephone me, or I could telephone Eichmann and ask if there was any decision. I also had negative answers, but usually there was a way of negotiating.
Tell me, why did you not turn to Kuchmann since you knew him?
I felt I did not know what the task of and the authorities, we never learnt about them, the authorities of a person who was against us. But I felt that Kuchmann's authority was limited to affairs dealing with Berlin. And we were interested also to deal with matters I mentioned before. That is why I thought that this was the way to influence other institutions with which I had no contact.
I understand. What were the things that he wanted from you? In what matters did Eichmann show interest? Did he summon you at times?
Yes, he did summon me, but this was also connected with a matter. I say we applied for a certain privilege for an emissary from Palestine to come to Berlin and handed in an application regarding this matter. I was called to his office to hand in information about the man, and besides I had the impression that he was after something. He wanted to learn something, the details of a certain matter. And of course, every one of us knew that things were not easy and that there were many matters difficult to explain, even to us. And he asked me what they were. I had to explain to him, for instance, what is the question of the Orthodox who were not within the official framework, what is the meaning of the various Zionist parties, the coalition.
He especially showed special interest in these organizational matters.
Such matters. What was the impression you had? The impression I have now from an official who comes to me and says, I want to learn something about a certain subject, please explain.
How did he behave?
At the time, I considered his behavior as a quiet man and behaving in a very normal way, not special personal connections, but a correct person.
The relationships were quite correct at these meetings,
yes.
Were they?
He used to address me as Sir, Mr., and asked me to sit.
How long did these meetings go on?
I cannot say for certain, but until about, I believe, the end of 1937, there was a kind of breakdown. I remember that after seeing Eichmann in 1939, I sort of recall that I did not see him for over a year.
Dr. Meyer.
There was an SS man. We addressed ourselves to him and said that we were from Berlin. He telephoned from the gate. I remember the grotesque manner. He did not know how to refer to us, and he stammered and said, here are the gentlemen from Berlin. He wanted to say, he wanted to use another word, but this was on the ground floor on the left hand. There was a large room, and there Eichmann was sitting.
Did you see him immediately?
Yes, I did.
Will you please tell the court of the impression you received from him at this meeting?
No, this was not the last meeting. There were more meetings with Eichmann. And I remember that immediately I told my colleagues that I did not know and that I was ashamed of the change in this man.
How does this change express itself?
His whole approach. I thought this was a low official, a clerk, fulfilling his duty, sending in reports, etc. And here I met a man acting like a ruler in whose hands are death and life, behaving in a brutal manner. He received us, he did not let us come near to his desk. We had to remain standing.
Dr. Meyer, did all the members of the delegation recognize him?
I cannot say. I doubted whether all of them knew him.
Besides you, did anybody else know him, recognize him? Were there any signs of recognition between you at this meeting in Vienna?
There was no connection or a way of addressing the man as if to suggest that they met him before.
What was the subject of the discussion?
This meeting was very short. All he said was that you must tour this building and see what I arranged, what I fixed up in this building. And in the afternoon you must come back and report to me your opinion of my arrangements.
Do you remember the name of the matter that you were supposed to look into?
Of course, this was the Central Institution for the Immigration of Jews.
Give us the German name.
The Central Office for Jewish Immigration.
Did you look into the matter?
Of course.
Did you meet some of the local Jewish leaders?
Did you meet other Jewish leaders? Not in the house. I can't remember names. I am under oath. I remember Mr. Engel. But
what was your impression later?
Very bad, terrible. I said immediately that it looks like a factory and all automized, like a flour mill connected with a bakery. You put in a Jew who still has property, a factory or a shop, and has an account in the bank. He passes through the whole building and comes out without property, without any privileges, except a passport with the instruction you must leave the country within a fortnight. Otherwise, you will be sent to a concentration camp.
Was the situation different from that in Berlin?
Entirely different. Even if in Berlin they were not so tactful, no one can say so, yet there was a kind of recognition that there was a body of people which is allowed to speak of their interests. Here there was only an order and an automatic execution of orders.
Before you left Vienna, did you meet Eichmann again?
Yes, in the afternoon. He asked us, what do you think of what you saw? I do not know if today this can be explained, but at the time we believed that one can answer and tell Eichmann no. We learned that this, in our opinion, is impossible to implement in Berlin in the situation of German Jewry, and said that we were for orderly immigration, that a man should be able to leave with a legal passport, a visa of the country where he was going to, and if possible with some money, not to come penniless and become a burden immediately on this foreign country. after a period of instruction and study, what we did all those previous years.
Did you receive a reply from him?
He said, this we'll discuss in Berlin. He attacked us, and there was a very terrible case. He shouted at Mr. Stahl, who put his hand into his coat pocket and shouted at him, "Take your hand out of your pocket," and added a very crude word which I cannot repeat, but he also used the expression old sack. Take your hand out of your pocket, you old sack.
And on the morrow, did you leave Vienna?
We left Vienna in the evening. Mr. Stahl stayed on for another day or a day and a half, and he told us that he met Kuchmann there. The Gestapo office was an entirely different building near the Donau, and that is where he...
Mr. Presiding Judge, have you many more questions? Mr. Bauer, I'm about to finish.
You mentioned another meeting with Eichmann in Berlin. This was during the first week of March.
In 1939?
Yes.
What happened then?
I believe I was alone and had the honor to appear there because I was registered as responsible for the Jewish National Fund.
Where did the meeting take place?
On Prince Albert Street.
In the office which you knew already?
Yes, in a different room.
Was Eichmann there?
Yes, and someone else, or more than one. There was an officer, elder than Eichmann, who also acted like a chairman, but did not begin the conversation. Eichmann sat next to him and started by introducing me, saying that this is one of the Jews who had the insolence to incite the people, to incite the Jews in Austria, the Jews of Vienna or Austria, I can't remember exactly, and this is the way he started. Then he said, we have taken a decision. This office for Jewish immigration will be set up in Berlin as well. The question is foreign currency. We were told in Vienna that contrary to what we have done all these years, Austrian Jews were supposed to hand over to the Gestapo all the foreign currency in their hands, which they received as assistance from Jews abroad, the joint or other enterprises, welfare enterprises, which we did not do in Berlin. We had different arrangements. The organizations sent their money straight to our funds in Palestine, and in exchange we gave our German marks collected within the Reich to the Rechtsvertretung Fund.
And what was the request now?
The demand was that he learned that the Jewish National Fund had foreign currency and demanded that I sign for the transfer of this currency to the Gestapo.
Did you agree or refuse?
No, I tried to complain and reason with him to say that we collect only marks, German currency, but he knew that there was an extraordinary arrangement of transfer of foreign currency from the National Fund to Germany. And then I succeeded in getting out of this mess when I told the chairman that you have the privilege to decide whatever you wish, but I want your consent to telephone Düsseldorf. I said this was the center for the iron industry, and I have to cancel the business with the pipes called the Röhrengeschäft, which the Jewish National Fund and the NER Corporation
Let us not go into these details, says the presiding judge.
And then the man who acted as chairman said, all right, we shall put off this point and let me leave. After this meeting, I don't believe I saw Eichmann again.
When did you leave Berlin?
On the 15th of March, 39.
Previously, on the 21st of February 1939, did you receive a Judenkennkarte?
Yes.
Was this the card which you received?
Exactly.
There are fingerprints there.
You're obliged to give your...
Every Jew had to get a card like that?
Yes, every Jew.
May I submit this document to the court? This will be T92. With permission of the court, there is one more document which I'd like to show to the witness. Of the 16th of February 1939. Please tell the court whether you received this from the Gestapo,
yes.
And what is its content.
I was elected, I can't remember the month, at the end of 38, to the